I love seeing all your faces. I'm excited for today's meeting. We've got Pam that's going to be having a pretty awesome conversation with one of our very own. So we're excited to get going on that. We've got a lot at the end in regards to announcements and classes that we've got coming up to provide our values to you guys always. John, come on up, bud. So let's start with Joan.
First. All right, so so when we write a purchase and sale contract, as you know, it's an agreement between the buyer and the seller, right? So that's going to govern things up until escrow prepares escrow instructions, and the buyer and seller each sign their set of escrow instructions that was based on the purchase and sale contract, right? Okay, once the buyer and seller have signed those and submitted those to escrow, that purchase and sale agreement doesn't exist anymore. We have escrow instructions now signed off by the parties. And once those escrow instructions are fulfilled by there being a closing and all the documents prepared, signed, and filed, recorded, then those escrow instructions are gone also, right? And all we have is the recorded closing documents. That's it. So the reason I bring that up is because if there was something that was to take place after closing, which happens a lot, you know, it could be, in fact, one of the things that's happening a lot these days are septics. So the county is behind on getting septics approved and all that kind of stuff, and inspecting them and everything else. So oftentimes that is having to take place after closing, which of course is a violation of the county ordinances, but we can get a hold harmless sign by the parties for that. But the problem is, what if somebody has to bring in extra money to make it work? What if the seller has to bring in extra money to make that septic get approved? Or what if the buyer has to do something that they were supposed to do? Now we have a closing that has eliminated the escrow instructions of the purchase and sale contract. So what's to force anybody to do what's supposed to be done? What if the seller is supposed to have removed something from the property after closing and doesn't do it? What if there was work to be done on the property by the seller after closing and the seller doesn't do it? Buyer can sue, but they're probably going to lose because there's no more purchase and sale contract. So one of the things to just keep in mind, so I'm nervous because I'm practicing law here. So one of the things that I learned a long time ago was to build in a survival clause into the contracts when there's something that's going to happen after closing. So you would just write in something like, when you write in whatever that thing's going to be that's going to happen after closing, you write in the words, the terms of this addendum shall survive the closing. So it's an amendment, okay? So an addendum is something that happens at the time of mutuality. This is usually an amendment that comes later, right? Now, if it's right at the beginning, it's fine. You can call it an addendum, that's fine. But if it's something that comes along after we already had mutuality and now the parties are realizing this has got to be done, that's called an amendment. So you would just say the terms of this amendment shall survive the closing. That's a survival clause. You put that in there, and that means that whatever the thing was that the parties are agreeing to have done after closing survives the closing, because everything else kind of self-destructs with the closing. Purchase and sale contract, the escrow instruction, everything else. So we want that item to survive the closing. Okay, so there's a lot of different scenarios, as I say, that can happen with that. They're usually repair related, or like the septic issue or something to meet the county guidelines and approval. But it's whenever something is going to happen after closing to make sure that the parties' feet are being held to the fire, we would want to build in the survival clause. Questions about that?
Is that in, for example, like the 65 feet?
The 65, I don't think so. Oh, well, The 65B
I
says
think that should. already be in there.
it should be. You know, the only place I've actually seen it in the pre-printed form is in the financing addendum. There's a portion in the financing addendum that deals with something after closing, and that there's a little thing in there that we just read, you know, that says this shall survive closing. And that's the only place I've seen it in pre-printed contracts. That would be an obvious place that it should be.
Use a lot.
I've seen that a lot. Okay.
We have a question online here.
Okay.
Does that just go on the back form blank or the blank form 34?
Yeah. Or wherever that item is being addressed, because it could be on the 22D other paragraph, but wherever it's being addressed, we also just want to add that onto it and say this addendum, if it's at the time of mutuality, or this amendment, if it's after mutuality, shall survive closing.
Any other questions for John?
No? All right.
I have a question.
Oh, Bill does it, Pam?
What was the silliest thing that you saw come through the office this last month?
Well, I had two today.
Where do I start?
We can learn from that too, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, one I was gonna talk about next week, but I think I'll just go ahead and do it right now since you talked about it, because it really just happened last night, this morning. And so yeah, it was regarding Mike, or no. So, no, it was this was somebody else. One of our agents had a contract, was the listing agent in a contract, and they had a Form 34 prepared by the buyer's agent that said that the inspection was for informational purposes only. I always read that, I think, well, of course, I mean, it's not to have a return service and tenants, it's to deal with information, right? To get that information out of it. And so that's what an inspection is for. Yeah, so what does that matter? Well, it's for informational purposes only. And this buyer's agent wrote in, the property is being sold as is, seller will do no repairs. Seems pretty tight, right? But the Form 35 was still there. So now the buyer's agent responds to the inspection with the Form 35R. The agent says, well, what do I do with this? And I said, well, a lot depends on the exact wording of that Form 34. So let me see the exact wording that she sent to me. And I read and I said, that's pretty good. That really was good. And there's a lot of them I've seen that are everywhere around and in between on that one. And it's got to be super clear because it's obvious to us that the intent of the buyer and seller is that the buyer's not going to ask for anything, they're just going to take it as is, right? But when the Form 35 is there still, that casts a big shadow over that, and so we want to be really clear and not leave it to a court to say, well, here's a Form 35, but here's Form 34, which one's going to beat out the other, right? So we want to maybe make some of the adjustments on the Form 35 that correspond with what we're trying to say in the 34. If we're going to do that, I'm hoping this whole waiver of inspections is going to go away, but I'm starting to see more and more of the Form 35 intact about the waivers of them, but when buyers are waiving their right to the inspection, it just makes me nervous. It has for 4 years now. So anyway, so that issue, is just, to me, is just really a funny issue because we have that this inspection is for informational purposes. Well, yeah, that's what an inspection is. It's information, right? So what else would it be for? So we got to clarify and be very specific on it. We can use our common sense and say this is what it means, but when a court gets it, they're going to shrug their shoulders and say, here's what it says. Of course it's for information. Well, what does that mean? And what do we do with this Form 35?
You wanted to address the ADA compliance on the websites.
You know, I just barely
I can address the ADA.
barely
compliance
read
on our
that,
website.
but we both got tagged on that, so yeah. Why don't you let-
Our websites are already ADA compliant. We don't have to do a darn thing.
You say our.
KW agent sites. If you are using KW agent sites, they are already ADA approved.
but
If you
you're
are
doing-
using an outside site, you're going to need to talk to your website provider and see if they are ADA.
Cool.
You kick me out of here.
No, you can stay as long as you want.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you, John. So take the long one. We need to move this. I'm good. Hi, everybody. How are we doing?
Great.
So good. Okay, I can see too many of my face, so hold that thought. Looking at myself like twice. I want to talk a little bit today about the importance of knowing your numbers and how Command can help you do that. So we just had business planning clinic. We're setting our goals for 2022. And I want to show you a few things in Command and how to use them to best know what's happening in your business. So who, out of curiosity, puts their goals in Command at the beginning of every year? Who then actually looks at it and uses it? Okay. So let's talk about what we can learn
Opportunity.
by putting our goals in Command, okay? So I'm going to show you a few things. I've got people in my way. There we go. Okay. So the first thing I want to show you is when we put our goals in Command, we have a few places where we can find them. The first is we can put them on our dashboard so that we see them every day. So I have told the system, today is not how to add your goals to Command. We'll talk about that when the 2022 goals are released. But if I've told the system this is what I want to do for the year, it's going to work backwards and tell me what habits I need to put in place in order to get where I'm trying to go. I am a visual learner. I like that it gives me these lovely little circles because a circle, I can see, okay, at the end of quarter one, am I a quarter way through the circle? At the end of quarter two, am I halfway through the circle? It's going to give me a good visual on whether or not I'm doing what I need to do to meet my goals. So I like that. I like that it tells me here's what I need to do. Here's how many appointments I need to set. Here's how many things I need to get under contract in order to get where I'm going. But there's some more we can learn from this, and that is our conversion rates between these things. The system's going to automatically give you the national average. So it knows what the national numbers are, and it's going to say, I'm going to make up numbers that, you know, appointments that end in a closed unit, it's 5%. I don't know what the answer is. But what we can do if we're using this goals regularly, we're using it every year, we're going to see what our actual conversion rates are. We're going to know what our actual numbers are. And then we can adjust them in Command in several places. And that's going to give us a much better picture, not only of what our business is doing right now, but what we're looking at it doing throughout the year. So we can see our goals here on the front page. We can also go to reporting, which is the highly underused applet that looks like this little graph. And we go up to the goals section and we can see a better picture of our goals. Don't hop around in reports too much. Most of it doesn't work. I'll tell you when it does, but goals works great, okay? So we can see all of these lovely little circles that tell us how we're doing. We all know that my numbers are pretend, so no judgment. You can actually go ahead and put in your 2022 goals already, but this little chart isn't going to show up for 2 months, 5 days, and 13 hours. It's going to give you a lovely little countdown. So 2 months, 5 days, and 13 hours from now, I'll tell you all about what that looks like. But here's what I like about it. Once I have used this for a year or 6 months or any kind of regular time where I can see what my actual conversion rates are, I can then go into opportunities. I forgot I already had it open. I can go into opportunities and set those conversion rates in my opportunities pipeline. What this is going to do for me is help me look at my potential and my probable income with more accurate numbers. Who can tell me the difference between potential income and probable income? Ouch.
You have a lot of potential.
You have a lot of potential. Absolutely. Potential income is anything in my pipeline. If everything in my pipeline closes, that's my potential income. My probable income is based on my conversion rates. So it looks at everything in my pipeline. And if I've got 8 opportunities in Cultivate, but my Cultivate to close conversion rate is 1%, it's going to say what's 1% of that potential GCI, and it's going to tell me what my probable income is. So the more I'm tracking my goals and goals, the more I know what the accurate percentage rates are to put here, which tells me my probable income at a higher accuracy level. Does that make sense? Do we have any questions? Are we all going to put our 2022 goals in, and are we all going to actually look at them and actually use them?
Yes.
That's the correct answer. I know all of your names. Okay. All right, that's it. Love you all. Bye. Thanks, Crystal. Want to join her? Oh, yeah. Always kick me out too. Just, you know. Oh, that's
We
not
looking
creepy
for that
at all.
right there.
I'm gonna fix you. You don't worry about it.
Okay. Okay, you fix us
I got you.
and we'll get started. Hi, Mike, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Great. Am I supposed to leave that here? Because I moved it.
You're fine. You do you, and I will compensate.
I was just doing it.
I expect nothing less. Okay.
Yeah. So, thanks for joining us here today.
So,
Yeah, I have some things I want to talk to you about. And I realize that you've been with us about 5 years.
Yep.
5 years, really, this year.
yes.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah. So let me ask you a question. What did you do before you got into real estate?
I wanted to be in law enforcement. Good friend here, Edgar. He and I were actually going through that process together. I got Crohn's disease in 2012. I was out of work for about a year. I found a job photographing cars for their websites in 2013. And then just through a Facebook inquiry, a buddy of mine, Josh Bernard, somebody I looked up to and still do, he said that they were hiring for a buyer agent. And I was like, that sounds great. I want to do real estate. So in a roundabout way, I was photographing cars, photographing cars.
Photographing cars.
Yeah.
So now you just photograph houses.
I don't.
I don't.
But yeah.
So, you know, one of the things Gary tells us is that people overestimate where they can be in 1 year and underestimate where they can be in 5 years. Right?
Yes,
You know that by heart.
I do.
Yeah, so it's been a bit of a journey for you, hasn't it?
Yeah.
To get from when you started to where you are right now.
It's weird to think about.
Yeah, well, what's weird about it?
Just that sentiment is true. 100% agree. It's I was, you know, the rookie agent at Mega Camp on a recruitment trip, and I think that was the first time. He probably says that every year.
Every year. A few times a year.
But I remember hanging on to that sentiment, and yeah, it's just been mind blowing to partner with this company for the last 5 years.
Yeah, it's been really fun to watch you grow.
Thanks.
Because you've had some milestones along the way.
Yeah.
And you know, we're here to talk about productivity.
Okay.
And our culture of productivity, right? Because we actually are the champion of teams. Keller Williams is the champion of teams. Keller Williams, we close more closed sales than anyone over the last few years in the Northwest MLS. Yeah. And it's been a process too, right? So we all grow together. That's how it works, right? So it's really fun to see someone who was taking photographs of cars for a living and has now hit some milestones along the way.
Yeah.
And so what I wanted to talk to you about, there's 4 culture points that I want to talk to you about in this conversation. And if you guys have never seen Culture in Action, it's a document that we have. and they've updated it this last year. So I'm going to specifically be talking about points 44, 45, 46, and 48.
Got it.
Okay. And so it is using a monthly profit and loss statement to analyze your real estate business. Mike, how do you do that?
Honesty moment. My wife helps out with her profit and loss because she has a degree in business administration. And she got COVID in September. She was out for like 40 days. So our P&Ls in the last few months have been non-existent. But what I wanted to share is that our expenses for the year as a whole with what I took to business planning was about a 9%, is like 8.6% business expense. From a P&L standpoint, I think that's just the revisited document that we revisit with my coach every week. Yeah. Follow-up questions? The P&Ls?
To P&L. So you haven't had them for a couple months because your wife got COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so is there an opportunity there to keep that moving when something happens? Because let's face it, you guys, you're running a business, something happens, the business still needs to run, you still need your numbers.
Absolutely, because we play the red light, green light with our expenses, what's working and what's not. And the opportunity is to maybe find a way to offload that job duty, unless she really loves it, I guess, which is weird. But find either move back to a CPA or monthly bookkeeping, P&L tracking, or maybe have her build a template for me to do it. I don't really want to do it. That's my guess.
Chances are probably pretty good that you won't do it.
No,
Yeah.
not at all.
I think that's probably pretty
Not at all.
wise.
But yeah, some sort of template that would make it easy for somebody to do it. Maybe our new assistant.
I like that. So you could probably look into that before the end of the year.
It's a great.
I like it. So part of this process is, Mike, when you were out there taking photographs of cars, did you think about a profit and loss statement?
No, not at all.
So that's the first thing, is how has your thinking changed? Because you hit a big milestone this month.
Yep.
Okay, so what you guys have to understand, how he was thinking 5 years ago is not how he is thinking today. Today, in the continuum of years, he hit a milestone. Did you start with that goal in mind?
No, I didn't even think about it.
Do you want to share what you did?
We grossed $1 million this month in our GCI.
Woo!
Yeah.
Yeah. So how has your thinking changed from over here?
Not this month. For the
In
year
one-
to
Yes.
date. That's a lot of houses.
Good clarity.
Thank you.
Good clarity. So remember over
A hell of a
here-
month.
over here, Mike had a job. He was taking photos of cars. No P&L,
Hourly,
hourly.
$12 an hour.
Okay. All right, culture of productivity. Now we're looking at P&Ls, right? So what's happened in this period of time to shape your thinking?
Training, agent financials, market center financials, business planning clinics, dentist ranch. Yeah, just so much education. Just learning.
Education and learning.
Culture. I tell people pretty often, and this is like not to like schmooze on the office, but now I live in Eatonville, so I'm well over an hour from here. But I choose to work here because of the people, and that's not a, not kiss and tail too much, but it's true. I want to work with people who I want to be like. So.
And we love you.
Yeah.
And what you bring to the table will do it too. Because actually you're a role model. You're a role modeling for people today who are here,
Yeah.
who want to be here,
Love it.
right? And so this is how we expose each other to bigger thoughts, right? There's somebody who started here, who's done it, is on his way to there, but we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
It's like, where are you going, Mike?
Sure.
Right? So, but in order to get there, he had to think differently, right? Get around different thoughts, get around different people, keep going to the same classes over and over again. Like you were at business planning just this month.
Yep.
Again, right? And so it's just really walking the walk. And we call that mastery, right? It's not learning for learning's sake. It's learning for knowing and doing sake. That's what it's all about. And so you're a great role model for that. So this is in our MREA book, right? So first you have to think in order to do what? Who knows the next? Mike knows it because he's been in class. In order to earn, right? So he has to think in order to earn. First milestone of becoming a millionaire real estate agent is grossing a million, right? So I don't know if that's ultimately your goal. And one thing I know about Mike is he's not motivated by money. Here's a guy, started out with cars, not motivated by money, grossing $1 million. What the heck motivates you, Mike?
My family and Jesus and people around me in my life. Good causes. Yeah. Mission.
So you don't always have to have that money motivation in order to get what you want. You just need to help enough people
Get what they want, and you'll have everything you ever wanted.
Right.
Zig.
Zig. Zig and zag right here. Okay, so the other thing that I remember you saying to me once in a coaching conversation is that you had a different word for closings, transactions, deals. Do you remember what that word was? You shared it with me.
No.
It was when you were on your way to closing 88, I believe.
Yeah.
88.
Yeah.
And you wanted to have 88 moments.
Yeah. That was when that book, The Power of Moments, came out by Chip and Dan Heath. Great book. But that's exactly what we did.
Tell us more about that.
Well, we provide moments for buyers and sellers. And that's how I think that the repeat and referral business comes when we create enough moments in their lives and bring enough value that it just makes an easily repeatable business.
So share with us a moment. Share with us. He creates the moments, but those moments have to really feel good to you, I betcha.
For sure.
Share one that just felt so good.
For me or for them?
Well, both, because that's reciprocal.
It's true. It's a good point. Okay. Shauna, this was winter of this year. I'll try and be quick. It was a 280 thousand, which seems like not much now. I guess it probably was a few years ago. It's a $280,000 manufactured home. I don't mean to get too graphic, but her husband molested all 3 kids, and she was of a mental capacity that was, I don't know, a 14 or 15-year-old. And so just to get the call from someone who goes to her church, who's a family friend of ours, Mike, you need to help this gal out. She needs out. She needs to sell the house. The guy was in the county jail awaiting, charges and all that. That's the last one that really comes to mind because we made her more money. The market made her more money than she probably anticipated. She's able to since receive all of the net proceeds from the sale. Started college funds for 2 of the 3 kids, and we gladly I waived our entire commission, I think, or most of it, just because that's the heart moment for me. It's like if we can have a couple of those every year and just create that lasting moment for her, you know, she becomes that raving fan for me and us, and it just feels good. So that was a reciprocal moment. Sure.
Like that moment carried into another generation now.
Absolutely. That's a really good point. Yep. And the sale of that home, their kids will have college funds. Yeah. Yep. It's a really good point. Really good point.
I love that. Okay, so we talked already about your profit and loss statement, analyzing your business, going through your numbers, hitting your monthly and annual production goals. How do you stay focused on doing that?
Business planning clinic. I took notes. Every October, we do a couples goal setting retreat with 3 other couples at the Post Hotel every December.
Nice.
Just because those are people that I like to be around and that I want to be like, and hopefully they feel the same way. And then MAPS coaching helps me chunk it down into monthly and annual goals. And then focusing on our 5 core duties as real estate agents.
Which are what?
I thought she would ask that, but I'm glad you did. Lead gen, negotiate, go on appointments, lead follow-up, and script.
And are those things that you feel like you do those at a high level?
No. Not all. Not yet.
Not yet. Right. So you can get to $1 million close GCI, not have all those core competencies down at high level. Yes.
If you knew what you do now, 5 years ago, what would you have done different?
Started at KW, probably.
And then another question I have was, how do you take it all in? Obviously, the activation completed.
Yeah.
How do you stay humble and grounded to not lose focus?
I mean, I'm a believer, so I feel like my relationship with Jesus kind of naturally helps me stay humble as it can go at any point.
Right.
So I saw something that was resonated with me yesterday or the day before. Like, I want to use my pockets money to bless others. And so I think that, like, if we lead with that, and there's a Bible verse in Matthew that talks about kingdom living and just seeking the kingdom of God, that, you know, that's why we're here. So for me, that's what it is. And just we're here to bless other people.
So far we have thinking.
Yep.
I'm hoping that you're hearing this thinking process, you guys, as you listen to them, right? That's the point. To earn. The next one is what happens after.
Yeah.
Oof.
Okay. So what's the profit margin of a really great, well-run MREA business, you guys? What are we looking at? There's some numbers. 40%. Yep. So that would be 30% cost of sales, 30% operating expenses, and 40% profit. So where are you at with all that?
We got to spend a lot more intentionally, of course, because we're nowhere near that on our business expenses. So now it's intentionally growing with the right people and the right plan in place.
Yeah. And I think that's true for probably most of the agents in our environment is you're not spending near enough, but in a couple of key areas, right? That would be in your lead generation.
The hard part is, and maybe this is a question for you. It's so noisy. Like, you get calls from Zillow and blah, blah, blah. And, hey, do you want to sign up to spend $1,200 a month? Not really. So how would you suggest?
Well, okay, that's a great question because it happens all the time, especially around October. You know, they know you're planning for business for the following year, right?
Yep.
And usually this time of year, some seasonality shows up and things start to slow down, correct?
Yep.
Right? So they've got you, basically. You answer that phone and you don't have a good response script, then you might just get sold something that you never intended on purchasing because it'll feel good and give you some relief right in that moment, right? Maybe.
Potentially.
So, is it in your budget?
Sure.
Could it be?
Could.
Yeah. So intentionally, you've already gotten business planning. right? And you've already taken a look at what your top sources for lead gen are. So what are they, Mike?
Our sphere of influence, referrals, social media, and then agent referrals.
So 4.
Yeah.
So how many sources does a top agent, mega agent with a team, how many sources do they need? What sources do you need?
Need
Mhm.
probably 3.
3. So does he
I
need
feel like
to-
that number's 7. Is that right?
Well, actually, it's 5, and the top 3 will give you the lion's share of your business.
Sure.
Right? So when they come calling to you, right, first of all, know your behavior. Are you the type of person that's going to sit down and follow a lead on the internet? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you could do that.
Yeah.
I mean, potentially you could do that. I couldn't do that. I'm too squirrely. I can't sit in front of anything for very long. I'll lose my interest in that. So know yourself, right? And what kind of lead generation you're actually likely going to do, right? So what about your systems around all these things? Scale of 1 to 10. I said your top 3 right here. What kind of systems are you running?
I feel like our sphere, the systems in our sphere are probably a 7. Social media is probably a 6. Agent referrals probably a 2. And our referral system in the last maybe 60 days is probably like a 5 or 6. Developing a system for it.
Okay.
One that we'll stick to, I hope.
Again, I'm just going to say, you can create $1 million in GCI and have a 7 system for your SOI, a 2 for your referrals, and a 6 for your social media. And why would he need to actually add more at this moment? Could, or maybe he should just focusing on improving, like what you want him to do with your SOI.
Yep.
I say that's perspective too. I mean, I feel like Mike's social media stuff is better than some of this.
Thanks, Jay.
I would agree.
Yeah.
I would
That's
agree.
definitely I think a very humble perspective.
Appreciate it.
It's not where you want it to be,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
So you have a vision for
A
it.
lot of
It's
it,
not
like
there
social
yet.
media, for example, just flying by the seat of my pants. There's no real system for it. Like, there's an idea of the content, like on a note, but a lot of it is like, oh, that's fun. You know?
Sure.
So by improving your thinking around this, which is what you're doing, you're going back in and you're saying, okay, now I've identified a system for SOI with 7, I need to improve that. So I'm thinking you're apt to receive, to earn more, right? To net more, which doesn't necessarily mean you have to spend more here. So the 2 areas of spending that agents don't spend enough in is education and training and lead generation. So those would be the ones I look at. And when the market shifts, because it will shift again, the 2 areas that people usually stop spending are what? Education and lead generation. So don't make that mistake. Okay, so what's next? Netting, and what do you do?
Yeah.
You miss one? You net it, you get to receive it. It's not,
Negative.
none. Right? When you net it, you get to actually receive it, right? GCI is yours. Some of that goes out to pay the bills, right? To run the business, pay your taxes.
And also too, I think receiving it could be in the form of leveraging yourself from the business,
Yes, it could.
maybe.
Yes. So receiving the net income from your GCI, right? That goes back into our topic today, our culture of profitability in your personal business. So you have notes on that?
Yep. I could be way off because we didn't talk about this. We cut spending by 12% in March of 2020, which I'm sure a lot of us cut spending then. But we haven't added a whole lot since, besides the giant salary of my assistant. We're playing red light, green light, plus a little bit of Dave Ramsey.
What's red light, green light?
Tracking expenses for a finite amount of time to see what's working and making an adjustment if it's not. Having the courage to make an adjustment if it's not. And then green lighting what is working. Like an ad spend in campaigns is a great green light, I feel.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
So, and the reason I'm doing this is so I can walk the walk, so I can earn the right to talk the talk, because I do want to get into being a coach full time eventually.
Awesome. So there's another goal right on top of that,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Right. So we talked about thinking, earning, netting, receiving. What's the last thing here? Once you've done these things, what do you get to do?
Yep.
Yes. This is the fun one, right? So you mentioned earlier about missions and helping people and that kind of thing. So talk to us about your philosophy on giving.
We doubled our giving goal for 2021, which we've hit as of October 26th.
Hold on, who in this room has a giving goal? Love that.
Nice.
I do.
Phenomenal.
I want her giving goal number. That should be a goal.
Yeah.
Yep. So that was important.
Yeah.
A good friend of mine runs a foundation that makes films for like persecuted Christians all over the world, which so I'm proud to give him and his mission money. And then, just do like KW Cares, and my showing assistant Crystal loves dogs. I wonder if she's watching. So we have like, giving goals for animals, and yeah.
So is this how you're able to really like earn the money before you end up spending the money, correct?
Yep.
Right. So you're able to do that because you know a few things, right? You know what your goal is.
Yep.
You know that you want to create moments and share experiences with people.
Yep.
Right? You know that you want to give. Right? What else do you know?
I know where I'm right. I know I'm right where I'm supposed to.
That's pretty cool. How many people can say that? But we'll say that.
We all should.
So if I was to ask you, I'm going to. Describe yourself, Mike, in one word.
Joyful. Grit.
One word.
Trailblazer.
Joyful, grit, trailblazer.
Sure.
Awesome. All right. Who else has some questions for Mike?
Tina. Just calling you out.
Are. In your business over the last 5 years, do you find yourself as a couple making the goals, or do you see you as the trailblazer in those familial goals?
The couple's goal setting retreat is always after business planning. So for me, business planning is a transaction count. It's not a monetary count or goal. It's always just a transaction number, because that's how my brain works. I know that if I can close 120 units, the GCI goal will fill its place, right? So in terms of like the annual and monthly, it's me casting the vision, if you will, and then our team figures out how, and then the familial goals, the giving goals, the personal side of my 411, personal, professional, that's Mindy and I, of course.
We have a question online. What does your organization look like? Assistant, TC, agents, etc.
Yeah, I think I hope that, in my opinion, when a solo agent gets to 36 units, he or she should plan their next hire. So if you're tracking for 36 units. The reason I say that is I waited until like 86 units and I was an idiot. Like, I can do this on my own. So I would say 36 units, in my opinion, that should be your lead measure to hire a part-time or full-time assistant. And so my organization now is me. I have a showing partner. Her name's Crystal. I have a full-time executive assistant. Her name's Jessica. And then we use Kevin Kraft as a full-time TC. Yep.
Right.
Thanks.
Mike.
Appreciate you guys.
I'm gonna give you this,
Oh,
one of these. I know you got one already, but I'm gonna give you another one. Because I think you inspired some people today. Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Thanks for sharing your journey. That's important. So if you're in the room right now, then you get one of these banners that I just gave Mike. So if you want one of these Life Worth Living banners, you actually have to show up to be inside the room. Get one. Yes. Just saying, be here.
Perfect. Well, you guys, we want to continue, exploring the thinking and the earning. So this is our last chance for those that haven't registered for Bold to make that happen. How many spots do we have?
Like 5.
Yeah, not a lot. So those of you that are on the fence or have questions about it, please let ELT know. We'd love to walk you through that and see how we can help you find success. This is a great way to go into Q4 and really make sure you're killing it in Q1. How many of you guys, show of hands, have heard about our real estate school? Yeah, phenomenal opportunity for us to continue pouring into the people that we love. A great value add for our clients. What we like to say is that we want to invest in them. Okay, so I know we've been using the word free, but really it's an opportunity for us to invest in them. We know that real estate's changed our world, and this is an opportunity for us to give that to somebody else. If you guys have someone that's raising their hands, has questions, please let Carmen or myself know. And then it starts November 3rd. So we'll be able to have more information. I know Carmen is attending a class. I think there's a couple of you guys attending a class to get more information. The more information we have, we'll get that out to you guys as soon as possible, okay? We just found out about this morning. It is tomorrow at 12. It's gonna be held locally in Spokane, but there's a Zoom element to it that you can jump onto. This is just for those that are a luxury accredited agent. For those that don't know that that's a thing within KW, come see me. I'd love to talk about how you guys can earn that opportunity to be a distinguished luxury agent with us. And then how many of you guys know what KW Connect is? Where do you find it? Right? I'm just making sure we've got clarity there. So there's always live streaming available for classes and value adds that you guys can jump on. It's always going. This is also the platform that Gene Rivers taught his business planning clinic last week. So we just wanted to make you guys aware of other opportunity to continue growing your thinking and your knowledge. And they have the calendar up all the time, so you guys can constantly look through that, align with where you have opportunity in your skills or your knowledge, and then plug into those correct classes. So we've got Coach's Corner. We do have that today at, what time is that? At 1. It's just going to be Rita today. So those of you that have opportunity to work on calendars and time blocking, Tina, I'm looking at you. It's a great opportunity to plug into that class and learn how you can grow your mindset around that habit. How many of you guys have gone to gratitude lunch? Oh, I'm excited to bring it back. It is going to be in Burien, as always, November 22nd from 11 to 1. It's a potluck style. So the ELT will be providing a turkey bird. We ask that you guys bring dishes along to go with it. And it's going to be a great opportunity for us to hang out and love on each other. Train the trainer. So we had Train the Presenter 2 months ago, give or take. A month, I don't even know. Sometime we brought in Antoinette. She's going to be back. This Train the Trainer is the next edition, whatever the next step of that process. And it's going to be in Bellevue from the 9th to the 11th, or 9th and 10th. It's a great value, and Antoine is probably a top instructor in this regard. So make sure you guys get registered for that if it's on your guys' growth plan, because this will fill up pretty quick.
Only had 3 spots left last I talked
Ooh,
to them,
we
and
might
that
have
was
missed it.
a few weeks ago.
Okay.
So
So if you guys have that on your growth plan, you can find that. Yeah, thank you for taking some time out of your calendar and hanging out with Mike today.
thanks for having me.
Yep, we appreciate it. Love all of you guys. Let us know what we can do to support you, and let's make it a great week.